Commander Elias Riker floated in the cockpit of his ship, the horizon's edge, staring at the endless black of space. Stars glittered like tiny diamonds scattered across a dark velvet sky. The battle scars of his latest mission ran across the ship's hull, and the once pristine interior now bore scratches, scorch marks, and the faint smell of burned circuits. Elias' hands rested on the control panel, knuckles white from tension, but his mind was elsewhere, on Earth. Earth, home, the blue and green planet he hadn't seen up close in months. The thought filled him with warmth, hope, and a strange ache he hadn't felt in years. After all the blood, the strategy, and the endless dangers of deep space combat, Earth was calling him back. It was the one place that still made sense. The planet where laughter and family were more important than power or victory. Where humanity thrived not because it was the strongest species, but because it was clever, stubborn, and full of heart. He let out a slow breath, imagining the cool wind of early spring brushing his face, the smell of rain over soil, and the warmth of his daughter's small hand in his. He could almost hear her laugh. His chest tightened. Home was near. Finally, after months of missions across the outer systems, dodging alien fleets and navigating deadly asteroid fields, he would touch Earth again. The ship hummed softly, a comforting sound after the chaos of war. Elias leaned back, letting himself relax for the first time in weeks. The mission was over. His orders were clear: return to Earth, report his success, and take leave. But space has a way of reminding humans that control is an illusion. A soft chime sounded from the communications console, pulling him from his reverie. He frowned and tapped the panel. The signal was faint, strange, almost musical. Notes that twisted in patterns that didn't belong to any human language. He frowned deeper. Interference, maybe, or some malfunction. His fingers danced across the console, scanning, filtering, adjusting. Nothing. And yet the sound remained, soft, hypnotic, almost intentional. Elias frowned. His instincts screamed caution. He had been trained to trust instincts more than rules. Years of combat had taught him that, and this felt like no ordinary signal. There was intelligence behind it. Curiosity, awareness, something alive, something beyond human understanding. He shook his head. Just interference, he muttered to himself. Nothing more. The oceans glittered, reflecting the sun's rays in ways that no human craft could ever replicate. The sight should have calmed him. Instead, it made him more aware of the smallness of his ship, of his life, of humanity itself. He remembered the mission, the battles fought in the uncharted systems, the alien ships destroyed, the lives saved and lost. Humanity had come far. Not because they had the strongest weapons or the largest fleet, but because they adapted, learned, and refused to give up. Every victory, no matter how small, had been a testament to human ingenuity, and every scar, every loss had taught him something about survival. Elias' thoughts were interrupted by a sudden movement on the sensors. Something massive, something alien. He squinted at the readouts. His stomach tightened. A ship unlike any he had ever seen emerged from the shadow of the moon. It glided with smooth, deliberate motion, its shape elegant and almost organic. There were no visible weapons, no flashing lights, no signs of aggression, yet the ship's presence radiated power, authority, and intelligence. It was watching him, and he knew it. Elias gritted his teeth. Even as he felt awe, he felt danger. He had faced hostile fleets, swarms of enemy fighters, and cosmic storms that shredded ships like paper. But this was something different, something beyond fear, yet demanding attention. He activated the ship's external cameras. The alien vessel was massive, shaped like a crescent moon with flowing curves and faintly glowing veins of light. It seemed almost alive, breathing with the rhythm of some colossal heartbeat. Elias' mind raced. Who commanded it? What did they want? And then, almost as if the ship itself sensed his thoughts, the strange signal returned. The melodic pattern filled the cockpit again, more insistent now. Elias' head jerked back. The sound wasn't just noise, it was thought. It tugged at the corners of his mind, gentle but firm, like a hand trying to lead him somewhere. Elias swallowed hard. "This isn't Earth," he whispered. His pulse quickened. He had been trained to remain calm, to respond with reason, yet he could feel the tug of curiosity fighting with caution. The ship drew closer. Elias felt a strange mixture of fear and fascination. His fingers hovered over the comms panel. Should he attempt communication? Should he flee? Every instinct screamed in a different direction. He was a soldier trained to respond to threats. But he was also human, and humans had a tendency to wonder. Before he could decide, the ship sent a beam of light toward his ship. It wasn't a weapon. It enveloped the horizon's edge, warm and soft, almost like a gentle touch. His controls went unresponsive. The hum of the ship changed, matching the rhythm of the alien signal, and Elias felt a calm wash over him. Something was guiding him. Something alive, intelligent, curious. And then he realized the truth. He was not being attacked, he was being invited. The thought was almost impossible to accept. After all he had seen in space, the endless wars, the alien threats, the betrayals and ambushes, it was almost unheard of. And yet here it was, invitation, curiosity, intelligence beyond human comprehension. Elias' mind raced with questions. Who were they? Why had they watched him for so long? Why now, as he returned home, had they chosen to reveal themselves? He tried to shake off the feeling of awe creeping through him, reminding himself he was still a soldier, still human, still alive. Yet as he floated in the cockpit, staring at the alien vessel, he felt something else, something deeper. Humanity had survived countless threats. They had adapted, evolved, and overcome. They had faced impossible odds and still emerged victorious. He knew that no matter how advanced this being, or these beings, might be, humanity had something that could never be replicated: ingenuity, emotion, and a stubborn refusal to surrender. The alien ship closed the distance, and Elias could see details through the ship's exterior cameras. Organic patterns glowed softly on its surface, like veins of light running through crystal. He could see movement inside, shadows of beings that were neither fully humanoid nor entirely alien. Their presence was elegant, deliberate, intelligent. And then he saw them. A figure appeared at the central chamber's observation window, and their eyes met his through the glass. For a brief, fleeting moment, Elias felt a connection that went beyond species, beyond words. There was intelligence there, curiosity, and a profound awareness that made his own human thoughts feel both primitive and precious. He blinked, unsure if he had imagined it, but the figure remained. Their gaze locked with his, unflinching and deliberate. And in that gaze, Elias felt something he hadn't felt in years, both recognition and challenge. The signal from the alien ship changed, flowing into a melody that resonated in his mind like a question without words. Elias understood this was an invitation. Not just to communicate, but to understand, to witness, and perhaps to shape what was coming next. He took a deep breath. His mission had been completed. Earth was calling him home. And yet in that instant he realized that the universe was far bigger than he had ever imagined. And the human spirit, stubborn, brilliant, unyielding, was about to be tested in ways he could not yet comprehend. The alien vessel extended a bridge, light forming a path toward his ship. He floated forward, instinct and curiosity leading him. His hands trembled slightly as he prepared to cross the threshold. Every step carried weight, every decision bore consequence. Yet one thought anchored him. Humanity had survived worse than this, and he, as a representative of that spirit, would not falter. As he approached the glowing bridge, Elias felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. Whatever lay beyond was unknown. Whatever awaited him would challenge him, test him, and perhaps even change him. But he was human, and humans adapted. Humans persevered. Humans faced the impossible and found a way forward. And with that thought, he stepped forward, leaving the familiar hum of his ship behind, moving into a new world, a new test, and a new chapter of humanity's story. The stars watched silently as Commander Elias Riker crossed the threshold. Earth still called to him. But the alien eyes had already found him. Elias felt the alien bridge hum beneath his hands as he stepped onto it. It was warm, soft, almost alive, bending slightly under his weight as though recognizing him, acknowledging him. The light flowed around him, not blinding but soothing. He had crossed thresholds in war zones, in hostile alien worlds, in systems with no hope of return. But this was different. There was no fear here, only an awareness, a quiet intelligence that seemed to study him in the subtlest ways. The bridge led him into the heart of the alien ship. Walls pulsed gently, with veins of glowing light coursing through them like blood through skin. The corridors curved naturally, no sharp angles, no harsh edges. Every surface shimmered softly, alive with energy he could almost feel in his bones. The scent in the air was faint, sweet, and earthy, unlike anything human. It was calming yet alerting, as if his senses were being tuned to something new. As he walked, shadows shifted gracefully along the walls. Elias' eyes adjusted, and he saw figures moving with fluid motion. They were humanoid, yet not entirely human. Limbs were longer, gestures slower, more precise. Their eyes were larger, reflecting intelligence and emotion in a way he had never seen before. They did not speak aloud, yet he felt communication in his mind, a gentle probing, not invasive, merely observing. Elias felt his heartbeat quicken. He had been trained to assess threats, to react instantly. But there was no aggression here, only observation and curiosity. A soft voice finally spoke, melodic and clear, reverberating not just in his ears but in his mind. "Welcome, human," it said. Elias turned toward the sound and saw her. She stood at the end of a wide chamber, bathed in soft light that seemed to emanate from her very being. Her form was humanoid, yet ethereal. Her skin shimmered faintly, and her eyes were like twin galaxies, deep and endless, holding centuries of knowledge and understanding. Her presence commanded attention effortlessly. Every movement was deliberate, elegant, yet entirely natural. Elias realized immediately that he was in the presence of someone extraordinary. "You are Commander Elias Riker," she said, her voice neither loud nor soft but precise, as if it carried its meaning directly into his thoughts. "I have watched you, your mission, your success, your choices. You have proven much, yet there is more to see, more to understand." But this was something different. It was respect, curiosity, and subtle challenge rolled into one. "Who are you?" he asked aloud, though the question felt inadequate. "I am Lyra," she replied. "Empress of the star systems you call the HFY Dominion. I have observed your species for centuries. Your people are intriguing. You fight with courage, adapt with creativity, and survive where others would perish. I wish to see if these qualities were as pronounced in you as in your kind." "Why now?" He was a soldier. He was trained to trust reason, data, and instinct. But the emotions stirring inside him, curiosity, admiration, even a flicker of fear, were unfamiliar. "Test," he repeated. "What kind of test?" "I wish to see what humanity is capable of when faced with decisions that cannot be solved by force alone. You will see much. You will choose much. And through it, I will know if your species deserves its place among the stars." And yet he felt no malice, only anticipation. "And if I fail?" he asked, testing the boundaries. Lyra's gaze held him unwavering. "Then the knowledge will be lost, not to me but to you, and perhaps to your species as well." Humanity had always faced the impossible and turned it into opportunity. He would not back down. She extended her hand, and the chamber responded. Holographic projections shimmered into existence around them, star systems, planets, and fleets represented in glowing blue light. Elias moved closer, studying them. He realized they were simulations, living histories, strategic maps, and potential scenarios all displayed as if to test him. Lyra gestured, and one system expanded. "A neighboring system is under threat," she explained. "A cataclysm that could destroy billions of lives. Your species has the potential to intervene, but only through intellect, improvisation, and moral decision. I will watch how you choose." He had trained for combat, for decisions under fire, for strategy, but never on this scale, never with stakes this high. Yet he felt a surge of determination. He would find a way. Humanity always did. Hours passed as he explored the possibilities, testing simulations, adjusting parameters, and considering outcomes. He felt Lyra's gaze upon him constantly, not judging harshly, but observing, learning from him as much as he learned from the projections. Her presence was subtle yet profound, and it drove him to think faster, act smarter, and weigh consequences more carefully. Finally, he found a solution. It was risky, dependent on improvisation and trust, but it could work. He activated the sequence. The holographic projections shifted, responding to his choices. Planets were stabilized, fleets redirected, lives saved without unnecessary destruction. The system that had seemed doomed now had a chance. Lyra's voice filled the chamber. "Remarkable," she said simply. "You did not rely on brute force. You did not seek glory. You relied on judgment, creativity, and the qualities that make your species resilient. You have passed the first measure, but the test is ongoing. There is more to see, more to understand, and there is more at stake than you yet realize." He had faced impossible odds before, but never in a way that tested intellect and morality together. Never in a way that revealed the very essence of humanity, ingenuity, courage, and compassion. He realized then that this encounter was not merely about him. It was about humanity as a whole. The Empress's attention, her challenge, was not a personal curiosity alone. It was recognition of what humans could achieve, the spark that set them apart from other species. Lyra studied him silently for a moment. "I did not come here to enslave your people, nor to test them with cruelty. I came because the universe is changing. Threats loom that will require species to rise beyond what they think possible. I watched you, human, because I believe you represent the potential of your kind. And potential, once seen, cannot be ignored." And in that realization, he understood something profound. Humans were fragile, yes, but their greatest strength lay not in strength or numbers, but in the spirit, creativity, and determination that no alien could replicate. Lyra extended her hand again, and this time Elias reached for it. The moment their fingers met, he felt a connection deeper than any communication. Not just mind to mind, but awareness to awareness. It was as if she understood him and he understood her in a language beyond words. "You will return to your world soon," she said. "But you must carry what you have learned, not just knowledge, but understanding. Humanity is at a threshold. Your actions, your choices, and your leadership will guide them. And perhaps one day you will return." As he was guided back toward his ship, he glanced once more at the Empress. Her eyes, still locked on his, were both challenge and promise. Elias knew that this was only the beginning. The universe was vast, dangerous, and full of wonders beyond comprehension, and humanity, fragile yet unyielding, was ready to rise. The ship hummed beneath his hands once more as he stepped back aboard the horizon's edge. Earth awaited him, calling him home. And yet the memory of Lyra's gaze, of her challenge, and of the potential she saw in humanity lingered in his mind. He knew that his life and his people's future had changed forever. Elias Riker set his course for Earth, the stars stretching endlessly ahead. He had crossed thresholds, faced impossible choices, and survived encounters no human had ever faced. And he understood now more than ever that humanity's true strength was not in weapons, not in fleets, but in the spirit that refused to surrender, the courage to face the unknown, and the will to rise no matter the odds. The alien ship receded behind him, but its presence lingered in his thoughts, a reminder that humanity's story was far from over. And as Earth grew larger on his screens, he felt a spark of hope. Hope that humans, small and fragile as they might seem, were ready to take their place among the stars. Elias sat in the observation chamber of the alien ship, watching the stars streak past as the vessel moved at speeds no human ship could match. The simulations Lyra had shown him still lingered in his mind, the neighboring system in peril, billions of lives hanging in the balance, the impossible choices he had been forced to make. He had succeeded in the first test, but Lyra had made it clear, this was only the beginning. The chamber pulsed softly with light as the ship moved. Elias had grown accustomed to the living architecture. The walls seemed to breathe, veins of soft illumination coursing through them like the blood of some colossal organism. The air smelled faintly of earth and rain, calming and strange at the same time. It was a world unlike anything he had ever known, yet it felt alive. He could feel it in his bones. Lyra entered silently. She did not need to announce her presence. Elias could feel her before he saw her. She stopped a few meters away, hands clasped, posture perfect, yet somehow relaxed. "You have performed well," she said, her voice both distant and intimate. "Your choices demonstrated not only intelligence but empathy. You considered consequences, not just results. You understood the weight of life in a way most species cannot. You do not always follow rules, but you find solutions. And in that, I see potential and danger. Can you handle choices without guidance and still act for the greater good?" It was in their nature. Lyra gestured, and the holographic star maps flickered to life again, this time showing a system far more complex than the last. Planets with multiple moons, dense asteroid fields, and civilizations barely surviving. "This system," she said, "is under threat from a force you might call natural, but it is no less deadly for being so. You must find a way to prevent catastrophe using only the resources and knowledge your species can realistically employ. You cannot rely on alien technology beyond what I show you. Your solution must be human. Any misstep could lead to total destruction." He began running scenarios in his mind, weighing probabilities, imagining contingencies. Hours passed. Lyra did not intervene. She observed silently, her eyes following him as he moved from projection to projection. At times, he felt as though she could see every thought, every strategy, every doubt in his mind. The presence was intense, but it was not oppressive. Rather, it pushed him to think harder, act smarter, and challenge his own assumptions. He realized something important. Lyra was not merely testing him. She was observing humanity itself. Every choice he made, every risk he took, reflected not only on him but on the potential of his species. Humans had always been underestimated. Yet here in the vastness of space and under the gaze of an alien empress, their ingenuity was on full display. Elias devised a plan. It relied on improvisation, quick thinking, and cooperation between the civilizations of the threatened system. He would use existing technology in new ways, redirect energy flows, and leverage natural forces to stabilize planetary environments. It was risky. Mistakes could cost billions of lives, but there was no other way that would work within the constraints of humanity's potential. He activated the simulation. The holographic projections shifted, responding to his strategy. Asteroids were diverted, energy flows recalibrated, and civilizations stabilized without unnecessary destruction. The system that had seemed doomed now had a chance. Lyra spoke. "Remarkable," she said, her voice resonating in his mind. "You did not rely on brute force. You did not seek glory. You relied on judgment, creativity, and empathy. These are the qualities that define your species. You are a true reflection of what humanity can achieve." Not arrogance, but a quiet recognition that his species, fragile and small among the stars, could still rise to extraordinary challenges. He had faced impossible odds, and yet he had succeeded through thought, courage, and care. Lyra's gaze softened slightly. "But there is more," she said. "The galaxy is changing. Forces are moving that will affect countless systems. You have passed one measure, human, but true understanding requires more than strategy. It requires foresight, leadership, and the ability to inspire others. Can you prepare your species for what is coming? Can you guide humanity to rise beyond what it believes possible? Humanity cannot survive if it does not learn to act beyond itself. We can be stronger, smarter, better, and I will do my part to make that happen. And through that, perhaps to influence the course of the galaxy." Lyra gestured toward a larger projection, a map of the galaxy itself. "This is the future," she said. "Threats will arise, some beyond comprehension, but those who are prepared, who act with intelligence and heart, will survive. Your species is at a crossroads, human. What you do next will determine not only your survival, but the future of countless worlds." They faced the impossible and found a way forward. He began to speak, outlining ideas, plans, and strategies to Lyra. He proposed alliances, technological developments, and moral frameworks for decision-making. He spoke of leadership and responsibility, of balancing ambition with empathy, of preparing humanity for challenges it had not yet imagined. Lyra listened intently, occasionally nodding, occasionally probing his thoughts with subtle questions. Every response, every idea Elias offered, revealed more of what humans could achieve and more of what they still needed to learn. It was a dialogue, not just between human and alien, but between potential and wisdom, curiosity and understanding. Hours turned into days, though the alien ship had no need for time as humans measured it. Elias barely noticed the passage of hours. His mind was alive, challenged in ways he had never imagined. He felt the weight of responsibility, yet also the exhilaration of discovery. Humanity was small, yet brilliant, fragile, yet unbreakable, and in that balance lay their true strength. Finally, Lyra spoke. "You have demonstrated ingenuity, courage, and foresight. You have made choices that balance intellect with empathy, risk with wisdom. You have passed the second measure. But there is one final consideration: trust. Can you trust yourself, and can you inspire others to trust you? This will be the test that defines your species' potential in the galaxy." Trust not only in himself, but in humanity, in the people who would follow, and in the decisions that would shape countless lives. It was the ultimate challenge, and it required more than strategy. It required heart. He nodded. "I understand," he said, "and I will do my best. Humanity has always faced the impossible, and we have always found a way forward. I will not falter now. You are one of them." The alien ship glided silently through space, carrying him not just toward Earth, but toward understanding, growth, and the beginning of a new era for his species. Elias Riker knew that the path ahead would be difficult, uncertain, and dangerous. Yet he also knew that humanity had a spark within it, ingenuity, courage, and unyielding spirit that no force could ever extinguish. And with that knowledge, he prepared himself for what was to come. Elias sat in the observation chamber of the alien ship, staring at the spinning stars below. Earth was closer now, but so was the weight of what Lyra had revealed. Her words echoed in his mind. Humanity was at a crossroads, and he, one man, was now a symbol of what his species could become. That thought was overwhelming, but he could not let it paralyze him. He had faced impossible odds before. He had survived. And now, humanity's survival and future might rest on his choices once more. Lyra entered the chamber silently, her movements graceful and deliberate. She did not speak immediately, but her eyes held him in their gaze. They were vast and knowing, and Elias felt the same mixture of awe and unease he had felt when he first saw her. There was something in her presence that demanded both respect and attention, a weight that made every decision feel significant. "You are returning to your world soon," she said at last. Her voice resonated in his mind, as if it were both distant and intimate. But before you go, there is something you must understand. There are forces moving in the galaxy, forces that will not wait for humanity to be ready. You must prepare your species to meet them, but you cannot do it alone. You must learn to navigate diplomacy, strategy, and trust. I will do what I can. Yet within that complexity, he also saw opportunities, chances for humanity to rise, to learn, to strengthen itself without violence. This is your next test, Lyra said. Not one of force, but of judgment. You must navigate these systems, understand their relationships, and choose the actions that will protect humanity while preserving stability. You will face challenges that cannot be solved by strength alone. You will need to inspire trust, negotiate alliances, and act with wisdom beyond your years. But as the weight settled on his shoulders, he also felt something familiar: determination. Humanity had always risen to impossible challenges. They had always adapted, learned, and grown stronger, and he would do the same. The simulation began. Elias moved through the holographic galaxy, analyzing civilizations, observing their resources, and noting their histories. Some were technologically advanced but politically unstable. Others were peaceful but vulnerable to natural disasters or hostile neighbors. Every decision mattered. Every choice could ripple across systems, affecting billions of lives. Hours passed as he worked tirelessly, considering each option, weighing the risks and benefits. Lyra observed silently, occasionally asking subtle questions that tested his assumptions and pushed him to think deeper. Her presence was constant but not oppressive. She did not intervene, but her gaze reminded him that every decision was being watched, every choice measured. Elias realized something profound. This was not merely a test of intellect or strategy. It was a test of character. Humanity had survived not because of weapons or technology, but because of creativity, empathy, and courage. And now, he was being asked to demonstrate those qualities on a galactic scale. He began to devise strategies that relied not on force, but on collaboration. He proposed alliances between vulnerable civilizations, sharing knowledge and resources to strengthen mutual survival. He found ways to redirect natural disasters using technology adapted from human ingenuity, preventing catastrophes before they occurred. He created contingency plans that allowed for flexibility, improvisation, and rapid response to unexpected threats. Lyra watched silently, her eyes never leaving him. Elias could feel her assessment in every subtle gesture, every glance. She was not just observing him, she was observing humanity itself, evaluating its potential and its limits. And in that observation, Elias felt a mixture of pride and responsibility. Humanity had always been underestimated, yet here, in the presence of a species far more advanced, their ingenuity shone brightly. As the simulation progressed, Elias faced unexpected challenges. A sudden threat emerged in one system, a rogue fleet of ships uncontrolled and heading toward populated planets. There was no time for careful planning. Decisions had to be made quickly. He assessed the situation, improvising solutions that leveraged natural phenomena, rerouted traffic, and used minimal force to contain the threat. It was risky, but effective. Lives were saved, and the rogue fleet was neutralized without unnecessary destruction. Lyra spoke, her voice calm yet resonant. Impressive. You act with precision under pressure, and you adapt when circumstances change. These are qualities that define your species. You demonstrate not only intellect, but courage, empathy, and creativity. You are proving that humans can rise to meet challenges that would overwhelm others. Humanity's survival depended not on a single solution, but on continuous vigilance, collaboration, and adaptability. Lyra stepped closer, and for the first time, Elias felt the weight of her presence in a personal way. You have done well, she said, but there is one final challenge before you return to your world. You must return with knowledge and understanding, but you must also earn trust, not only among your people, but across the systems you will influence. Diplomacy, leadership, and moral courage will be tested. Are you ready for that? We will not falter. They were not just advice. They were a charge, a responsibility, and a promise. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders and dangers alike. And humanity, small and fragile as it might seem, could endure and thrive if it embraced the qualities that had carried it this far. He spent the next hours preparing, reviewing simulations, and planning contingencies. Lyra remained nearby, observing and guiding with subtle questions that pushed him to refine his strategies. Elias felt both challenged and inspired. He was learning not only about strategy and diplomacy, but about leadership, trust, and the essence of humanity itself. As the time to return to Earth approached, Elias felt a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. He was eager to see his daughter, to touch his home soil, and to share the knowledge he had gained. Yet he also knew that the galaxy awaited, that challenges beyond imagination were coming, and that humanity's survival depended on his actions. Lyra approached him one last time before he left. "You will return," she said softly. "And you will face trials that test not only your intellect but your heart. Remember what you have learned here. Remember the qualities that make your species remarkable. And remember that even when you face doubt, fear, or failure, humanity can endure. You have the potential to guide your people, human. Do not waste it. Nurture it, and your species will shine among the stars." He carried knowledge, insight, and a vision that could shape the destiny of billions. As the alien ship receded into the distance, Elias felt its presence linger in his mind, a reminder that the universe was vast, full of wonders and dangers alike, and humanity, fragile yet brilliant, was ready to meet it. The stars stretched endlessly ahead as he set a course for Earth, carrying not only the hope of one man, but the potential of an entire species. The galaxy was watching, and humanity was ready to rise. Elias Riker gripped the controls of the horizon's edge, watching the familiar blue and green of Earth grow larger on the display screens. After weeks aboard Lyra's ship, learning, strategizing, and confronting moral and intellectual challenges that had tested him like never before, he was finally returning home. The air inside his ship felt heavier than usual, charged with anticipation, and the responsibility of knowledge he now carried. Earth was waiting, but he understood that returning was more than just a homecoming. It was the beginning of something greater, for him, for humanity, and for the countless lives that would soon be affected by his choices. The journey back had been quiet. The alien vessel had disappeared into the void, leaving him with his thoughts and the weight of Lyra's words echoing in his mind. Strength alone is not enough. Wisdom, courage, and empathy, these are the traits that will shape the future. He had felt her eyes upon him as he made decisions in the galaxy simulation, testing not only his intellect but his character, his sense of responsibility. He had passed, or at least he hoped he had. As he approached Earth's orbit, the familiar glow of its atmosphere greeted him. Blue oceans stretched across the surface, dotted with white clouds swirling in delicate patterns. Mountains rose proudly, and the lights of cities sparkled in the darkened regions. Humanity had endured countless trials before, yet now it stood on the brink of something new, an age of opportunity that Elias was determined to help guide. The communications console beeped, snapping him from his reverie. Earth's Space Command hailed him. "Commander Riker, do you read? We've been tracking your return trajectory. Prepare for orbital insertion and landing clearance." "I'm ready." And now those same qualities would guide him as he faced a new challenge, preparing his species for the future that awaited beyond the stars. The horizon's edge pierced through the upper atmosphere, flames licking along its hull. Elias maneuvered carefully, guiding the ship with precision honed through years of experience. Below him, Earth's landscape stretched out, familiar yet transformed by distance and perspective. He imagined the people waiting for him, unaware of the challenges he had faced, unaware of the knowledge he now carried. Touchdown was smooth. The ship's landing gear absorbed the impact, and the hum of the engines faded into silence. Elias exhaled, his heart pounding with relief and anticipation. He opened the cockpit hatch and stepped onto the familiar soil of his home planet. The wind carried the scent of grass and earth, cool and refreshing against his face. The sky stretched wide above him, endless and familiar, yet filled with promise. He was greeted by colleagues, friends, and family, their faces bright with relief and joy. His daughter ran toward him, small arms outstretched, and he scooped her up, holding her tightly. For a moment, the weight of the galaxy faded, replaced by the warmth of home, the comfort of human connection. But even as he reveled in the reunion, Elias knew his journey was far from over. Lyra's words echoed in his mind. Your species is at a crossroads. What you do next will determine the future of countless worlds. The galaxy was vast, full of threats and opportunities alike. Humanity had survived countless challenges, yet now it faced the potential to rise or falter on a scale it had never imagined. Elias reported to Earth's leadership, sharing carefully measured insights about what he had learned. He spoke of diplomacy, strategy, and cooperation. He explained how humans could adapt, innovate, and thrive by embracing not only technology, but creativity, empathy, and moral courage. His words carried weight because they were grounded in experience, both human and alien. Leaders listened, some with skepticism, others with awe, as he painted a vision of humanity capable of rising beyond its current limitations. But not everyone was convinced. Some feared the unknown, wary of overreach, and hesitant to trust the guidance of one man who had returned from the stars with ideas that seemed almost impossible. Elias understood their hesitation. Humanity had always been cautious when faced with the unknown, and yet he knew that to falter now, to cling to comfort and fear, would be to waste the opportunity before them. He worked tirelessly, meeting with scientists, strategists, and leaders. He shared knowledge gleaned from Lyra, not of alien technology that could dominate, but of strategy, perspective, and understanding. He encouraged collaboration between nations, emphasizing that the challenges ahead could only be met if humanity acted as a unified species. Slowly, the skepticism began to fade. People saw the logic in his words, the clarity in his vision, and the necessity of preparation. Elias also trained new generations of explorers, thinkers, and leaders. He shared not only technical knowledge, but the lessons of courage, empathy, and adaptability that had allowed him to survive the tests imposed by Lyra. Young minds listened intently, inspired by his experience and determination. They began to see that humanity's strength did not lie solely in its machines, but in its people, the ingenuity, resilience, and creativity that no other species could replicate. Yet even as Earth began to prepare for a future that stretched beyond its atmosphere, Elias felt a lingering presence in his thoughts, the memory of Lyra's gaze, her challenge, and the expectations she had placed upon him. He knew that humanity's journey was only beginning, and that the choices he and his people made now would echo across the galaxy. He could not falter. He would not falter. Weeks turned into months, and humanity began to change. Communication networks expanded, scientific knowledge grew exponentially, and leaders worked together with unprecedented cooperation. Humanity was awakening to the reality that it was no longer alone, that the galaxy was full of intelligent, capable species, and that survival depended not just on strength, but on wisdom, courage, and cooperation. Elias often returned to the observation decks, staring at the stars. The night sky was no longer a distant, untouchable void. It was a stage for human ingenuity, a canvas for exploration, and a reminder of the potential that Lyra had seen in him. He felt the weight of responsibility, but also the exhilaration of possibility. Humanity was small, yes, but it was resilient, resourceful, and capable of rising to challenges that no other species could match. One evening, as Elias gazed at the stars, a familiar hum echoed in his mind. It was soft, melodic, and unmistakable. He recognized it immediately, the signal that had first drawn him to Lyra's ship. He smiled, a mixture of wonder and determination. The universe was vast, full of unknowns, but humanity was ready. They had survived impossible odds before, and they would continue to do so, stronger and wiser for the challenges they faced. Elias realized that his mission had been more than a test of survival or strategy. It had been a lesson in what humanity truly represented. Not power, not conquest, not domination, but ingenuity, courage, empathy, and the will to persevere. And now, armed with that understanding, he was ready to guide his species toward a future that was brighter, bolder, and filled with possibility. He walked through the streets of his home city, seeing families, children, and communities thriving. The air was alive with hope and the quiet determination of people who were beginning to understand their own potential. Humanity was awakening, not just to the challenges of Earth, but to the vastness of the galaxy. And Elias, once a soldier returning from the edge of space, had become a symbol of what they could achieve when courage, intellect, and heart were combined. Months passed, and humanity's progress accelerated. Space programs expanded, alliances formed, and knowledge shared freely. Humanity began to explore further, to prepare for the unknown threats and opportunities that lay ahead. And through it all, Elias remained a guiding force, a reminder that the qualities that had allowed humanity to survive were also the qualities that would allow it to thrive. One night, standing atop a hill overlooking the city, Elias gazed at the stars. The familiar glow of distant systems stretched endlessly, a reminder of the vastness and mystery of the universe. He thought of Lyra, of her challenge, and of the potential she had seen in him. Humanity had met her test not by force, but by embracing what made them unique, their ingenuity, resilience, and heart, and he knew that this was only the beginning. Elias took a deep breath, feeling the cool night air fill his lungs. He had returned home, yes, but the journey was far from over. Humanity's story was unfolding, a tale of courage, discovery, and the will to rise above the impossible. The galaxy awaited, full of unknown wonders and challenges, and humanity was ready to meet them. He smiled, a quiet, determined smile. Earth had called him home, but the universe had opened its eyes to humanity. And now humanity would rise. The stars above shone brightly, reflecting the promise of a future shaped by courage, wisdom, and the unyielding spirit of one remarkable species. Elias Riker looked toward the horizon, knowing that humanity's greatest adventures were still to come. And in that knowledge, he felt hope, pride, and the quiet certainty that no matter the challenges ahead, humanity would endure, adapt, and rise, because that was what humans always did.